what's going on, guys? It's J Mass, and I'm back again with another dope New England adventure. And you guys know the drill by now. This is the third installment of the series. I'm going to be using a computer program to randomly generate me a set of coordinates here in New England, and I'm going to travel to them all in one day. I'm just going to speed through this introduction and give you guys the details, rules, and regulations as briefly as possible, but we're just going to get right into it. I'm going to be traveling to a randomly generated set of coordinates here in New England. Third time's the charm. Let's see where we end up. If you haven't already seen them yet, definitely check out the previous 2 episodes of this series. This third episode will probably be the final installment of the series, at least for a while, so be sure to give these other 2 a watch if you're looking for more. Also, I want to give another quick shout out to Topo Traveler, the incredible YouTuber who originally came up with this very concept. Definitely check out his channel, where he does a lot of outdoor exploring out in the western United States. Keeping it brief, the rules of this challenge are as follows: no private property, no ocean, no lakes, and no islands. I'll be setting limits around the entire region of New England and using the random location generator program on perchance.org to generate a random set of coordinates within this region limit. Once my coordinates are plugged in, I'll click randomize until I receive a set of coordinates that are doable. After many failed attempts at generating coordinates that weren't on private property, I finally landed on this challenge's final destination. We'll be traveling to a random point along the coast of Maine, and this is by far the farthest distance of the series. This point is located in a very remote and rural area within the unorganized territory of East Hancock, although it's right along the border with the nearby town of Sullivan. We're actually about an hour each way from both Mount Desert Island, where Acadia National Park is, and the city of Bangor. Interestingly, to get to this spot, we'll have to hike about a half hour along a sparse dirt trail called Sunrise Trail, then walk across a bushy power line corridor, and then do a small bit of bushwhacking to get to the exact point. It does appear that this land is public, since it's located along a public trail, so we should be all set to proceed with this one. This is looking to be my most ambitious expedition yet. So yeah, guys, that's really about it. I'll see you all again very early tomorrow morning, and we're going to travel to the randomly generated set of coordinates here in New England. Very interested to see how long it takes us and what's in store at this location. So I'll meet you guys tomorrow. Third time's the charm. Let's see what's in store. Alright guys, it is officially Saturday morning. It's about 7 a.m. right now, and I'm sitting here in my car right outside of my house in Massachusetts, getting ready to make the trek over to a randomly generated set of coordinates located within the unorganized territory of East Hancock in Maine. And I'm really excited to see what today's expedition has in store. Now, full disclosure, I am going to be taking highways today. Normally in these episodes, when I travel to randomly generated coordinates, I don't take highways, and that's just to make the journey there a little more interesting and engaging. But because of how far away this location is in relation to me, I am going to be taking highways. Basically, it's a 4-hour, 20-minute drive with highways. It just doesn't make sense to avoid them, so we are going to be taking them today. That being said, of course, we are going to be stopping along the way, checking out different sites, so it's still going to be a fun journey nonetheless, but we are going to be taking highways, starting here from Massachusetts, 4-hour, 20-minute drive to our starting point in Sullivan, Maine, and then we have to do about a half-hour hike, and then journey through the woods a little bit before we get to our randomly generated coordinates in East Hancock, Maine. Really excited to see what today's journey has in store. So yeah, let's get started. It's a little over 7 a.m. here on Saturday morning. Let's do it. As soon as I left my house and began embarking on my long journey up north towards Maine, I was overcome by a feeling of confidence and adrenaline. I knew that this one would be a success, and I was excited to see where my travels would take me. I quickly merged onto Interstate 495, passing through several Massachusetts towns along the Merrimack Valley, including Andover, Lawrence, North Andover, Methuen, Haverhill, Merrimack, Amesbury, and Salisbury. I eventually crossed into New Hampshire, continuing northward along Interstate 95 as I traveled along the state's tiny coastline. It was still early morning, and the sun was blinding as it rose high in the sky, but this only symbolized the start of a busy day for me. As I passed through coastal towns like Seabrook, Hampton Falls, Hampton, Northampton, Greenland, and Portsmouth, I neared the state border with Maine, where I would be spending the rest of my day. By now, I was driving across the Piscataqua River Bridge, dividing the states of New Hampshire and Maine. I continued along I-95 in Maine, with another 50 minutes or so until my first stop of the trip. As I passed by quaint coastal towns like Kittery, York, and Wells, I couldn't help but think about just how much driving I'd be doing today. Maine is by far the largest state in New England, and it can take numerous hours to drive around it, from town to town, especially in the more rural portions of the state. I still had a long way to go. Eventually, I neared the Portland metro area, driving through Scarborough and then South Portland, before finally entering downtown Portland, ready for my first scenic stop. Yo, what's up guys? I'm just taking a quick break from driving. We are making very good progress on this trip. We're about 2 hours and 51 minutes away from the final destination, but I just wanted to stop for a little bit. I'm here in the city of Portland, Maine, of course the largest city here in the state of Maine. And while I'm here, I did just want to check out Fort Allen Park. And I've been to Fort Allen Park a handful of times before. Love it here. There's a lot of really cool historical sites and monuments and memorials. So I figured while I'm taking a break from driving, we just explore the park a little bit and then we'll continue on. So yeah, join me. We'll walk a little bit around Fort Allen Park here in Portland, Maine. So here we are at Fort Allen Park in the city of Portland, Maine. It's an absolutely beautiful park that I've been to many times in the past, and I absolutely love it. You got stunning, expansive views of the city of Portland and the Casco Bay, and of course, a lot of history. There are memorials and monuments everywhere relating to Maine's history, including this memorial we're at right now. This is a memorial to the World War II battleship, the USS Portland. And you can see right here, they have a very tall section of the USS Portland's mast. Pretty sure that's what it is. Really cool to see. And in fact, right here, you can see that this bell is dated to 1932 with the USS Portland inscribed on it. So pretty cool to see the mast right here. Now, for the sake of time, I'm not going to go too into detail about the history, or really the history of most of the site, because again, we have a lot of driving to do. But if you want to see more about the USS Portland, feel free to check out this informational plaque and the others I'll be showing. But it's a really fascinating history. Apparently, this battleship saw several battles, especially during the Pacific Theater during World War II. It actually returned to Pearl Harbor shortly after the Japanese attack in 1941, which is kind of interesting. I'll go right over here and you can see who actually served on the USS Portland battleship. So that's also kind of cool. Shout out to all of them. And then of course you got this little memorial right here. And this is all of its battle records, all of the battles that the USS Portland took part in, including the surrender in 1945. So super cool to see. I mean, this battleship really had a storied history during World War II. I will show you two of the other memorials really quick before we move on. This right here is just honoring all of the Marines who served aboard the USS Portland. And then if I'm not mistaken, I believe that this is for the Navy. Yep, the Naval Reserve. So shout out to the USS Portland, a storied battleship during World War II, and its mast, which is right here at Fort Allen Park. And this right here is Fort Allen itself, or at least was Fort Allen. I won't go too much into detail because we do have quite a bit to do today, but Fort Allen was a earthworks battery that was actually built here in the late 1700s. Not too much left behind, but I will show you shortly. Again, there's a lot of history at this place. Like you can see this little informational plaque talking about 20,000 Civil War veterans that actually met here for a reunion in 1885. That's kind of cool. Right here on the grass. So why don't we head up here, check out some of the military remnants that are still here. You got this mast looking thing right here, which is kind of interesting. But the thing that I love about this little park is that they have Civil War era cannons. I'll show you one of them right here. These cannons are actually from the Civil War. Now again, Fort Allen, predates the Civil War. It was actually built in the late 1700s. But I do believe it was used in the 1800s. I will have to fact check myself down below if it was used during the Civil War. I don't think it was, but could be wrong. Here's another Civil War cannon right here. Pretty cool to see. Yeah, absolutely fascinating. Why don't we take a closer look, actually. Look at that. And you can even look down the barrel of the cannon. That's super cool. 1866. Once again, you got another little informational plaque right here, which actually goes into detail about these specific Civil War guns, which you can see right here. I did point out a second ago, 1866 is when they were created. If you know your history, the Civil War ended in 1865, so technically these were made a year after the Civil War ended, but still pretty cool to see. Again, here are the cannons right here. By the way, beautiful views of the Casco Bay here at Fort Allen Park. This right here is the Casco Bay, which basically empties out into the Atlantic Ocean. Gorgeous, stunning views. And then last but not least, we will end with these little informational plaques about Fort Allen itself. So again, feel free to pause if you want to read this, but this goes over the story of Fort Allen Park, you know, the park itself. And then right over here, this goes into detail about the history of Fort Allen, the earthworks battery that was actually built here for defense of the city of Portland. Very cool to see. 1775 actually is when it was built. So yeah, this really is about it for Fort Allen Park. A lot of cool history here. I did just want to show it off. I'm sure there's more I'm leaving out, but again, we got a lot of driving to do. A little under 3 hours left. Let's go. All right, guys, it's 9:27 right now. I'm gonna head back to my car and we're gonna continue onwards, going deeper into the state of Maine as we head to our final destination, the randomly generated coordinates in East Hancock, Maine. So yeah, join me, let's head back over, and still got about 2 hours and 50 minutes to go, so quite a bit of time, but this was a nice little break here in the city of Portland. All right, let's go. After getting back to my car, I left the city of Portland and hopped back onto Interstate 295, heading up north once more. To break up my nearly 3-hour-long trip, I figured I'd stop once again, with my next anticipated stop coming up in roughly 50 minutes. As I passed through more coastal Maine towns like Falmouth, Cumberland, Yarmouth, and Freeport, I eventually headed further inland as I followed along the Kennebec River, passing through towns like Gardner, West Gardner, Farmingdale, and Hallowell. I found myself driving through the capital city of Augusta, and my next stop was peering above the trees in the distance. Alright guys, so we're stopping once again. This time we're out here in the capital city of Augusta, Maine. Right behind me you got the Maine State House, which we're just going to be checking out really briefly. Again, I've been here many times in the past, but figured since it's on the way we'd check it out. So yeah, let's explore the Maine State House here in the capital of Augusta, Maine. The Maine State House was completed in 1832, shortly after Augusta became the capital city of Maine. Before that, it was Portland. Designed by Boston architect Charles Bulfinch, the Maine State House is primarily made of granite cut from nearby Hallowell and consists of columns, a cupola, and a copper-domed roof with a copper statue of the Roman goddess of wisdom and justice, Minerva, on top. Interestingly, the State House's original copper dome was replaced in 2014, as it had corroded and oxidized significantly. There have also been many renovations of the State House over the years, including interior remodelings in 1852 and 1860, the building of a 3-story wing between 1890 and 1891, and some more remodeling between 1909 and 1910. Today, the Maine State House reaches a height of 185 feet, or 56 meters tall. But anyways, that's about it for the Maine State House here in Augusta, Maine. It's about 10:50 a.m. right now. We still have around 2 hours, 12 minutes to go. So I'm gonna get back to my car. We're gonna continue onward and hopefully get there soon. Still a few more stops I wanna make on the way, but we're making good progress. As I got in my car and left the city of Augusta, I began to head east towards my final destination, deeper inland through towns like Vassalboro, China, Palermo, Montville, Morrill, and Belmont. By the time I reached the city of Belfast, I was thinking of making another quick stop, and I realized that there was a place I wanted to check out on the way. Driving northward along the coast of the Penobscot Bay, I worked my way through the beautiful coastal towns of Searsport and Stockton Springs before finally reaching Prospect, overcome by gorgeous scenery. Yo, what's up guys? Really quickly, I'm just making a stop here in the town of Prospect, Maine. We are making good progress. We're a little less than an hour away from the randomly generated coordinates. But while I'm here in Prospect, I just want to make a quick stop. We're at a scenic pull-in right now. There's some beautiful, stunning views. Right behind me, you got the Penobscot River. And then right over there, you got the famous Penobscot Narrows Bridge. So while I'm right here, I will show you some of these scenic views, and then we'll continue on. This scenic roadside pull-in offered stunning views of the Penobscot River, which empties out into the Penobscot Bay, south of where we are now. Note this sign discussing the Penobscot Expedition, a naval battle that occurred during the Revolutionary War in 1779. Despite possessing 44 ships with 3,000 men, this conflict led to an American defeat, with British troops retaining control of the coastline. Over here, you can see the Penobscot Narrows Bridge, connecting the towns of Prospect and Verona Island. It was completed in 2006 and spans 2,120 feet, or 650 meters long, with a height of 447 feet, or 136 meters tall. It's also pretty close to Fort Knox, a U.S. Army fort from the mid-1800s. I hopped back onto US Route 1 and embarked on a drive across the Penobscot Narrows Bridge, making this only the second time I've ever driven across it. After taking in the scenic views from the towering bridge, I made my way onto Verona Island and figured I'd make my next stop a lunch break. By this point, it was a little after 12:30 p.m., and all I could think about was food. I was starving. Thus, I continued on a 30-minute drive towards my next stop, driving through scenic towns like Bucksport and Orland, before finally arriving in the city of Ellsworth. Alright, as you guys can see by the mural directly behind me, we are currently here in the city of Ellsworth, Maine. We're getting very close to the coordinates now. We're only about 30 minutes away, but I'm really hungry. It's about 1 p.m. right now. I'm starving. So while I'm here in Ellsworth, with a lot of food options in the city, I'm gonna go get some food, so why don't you join me? For lunch today, I stopped at Zeppa's Pizza in Ellsworth, Maine, which had very good reviews online. Zeppa's is a small, family-owned New York-style pizza joint with a pretty distinct dog theme going on inside the restaurant. There was dog memorabilia everywhere, and apparently the pizzeria's theme and name is derived from Zeppa, the owner's mini Australian Shepherd. Here's a framed photo of her. Keeping it simple, I ordered the 14-inch classic cheese pizza, made from homemade pizza dough, topped with tomato sauce, shredded mozzarella, Parmesan cheese, basil, and olive oil. I gotta say, it was pretty damn good. The cheese was savory and poignant, and the crust was soft and floury. Each slice had a nice greasy flop to it, and I found myself eating much more of the pizza than I expected I would. Definitely one of the best pizzas I've had here in Maine. After lunch, I hit the road again, and I was officially on the final stretch of the drive. As I left the city of Ellsworth, continuing east on US Route 1, I couldn't help but let my mind wander, thinking about what was in store for this next portion of the journey. I knew that I had quite a bit of walking and hiking coming up soon, yet I felt more than prepared. As I quickly drove through the town of Hancock, I finally entered the town of Sullivan, where I would soon park my car and get ready for my much-anticipated hike. Alright guys, we've officially made it. This dirt trail right here is the trail that we have to go down to get to a randomly generated set of coordinates. So right now we're in the town of Sullivan, Maine, and this of course is the Sunrise Trail. Should be about a half-hour walk. And then all the way down there we have to get to the power line corridor, cross that, then do a bit of bushwhacking into the forest, and then we get to our coordinates. So we are going to start walking down here very shortly. As you can see, it is a trail. I can't drive down it, although it looks like other vehicles are allowed here, like bikes and ATVs, that kind of thing. So yeah, we're going to make our way down this trail. Check it out. After taking one final look at the trailhead bulletin board, I began my half-hour walk down Sunrise Trail, which would end up being slightly over a mile and a half, or 2.4 kilometers. The entire trail was essentially just flat terrain covered in loose dirt, sand, and small rocks, going straight forward for the most part. All in all, it was turning out to be a pretty easy hike, not physically enduring by any means. That being said, I was clearly the only one hiking this trail, as most of the people I passed by were on ATVs or dirt bikes. What's up, guys? Still walking down this dirt trail, Sunrise Trail. I've only been walking for about 10 minutes or so. It's currently 2:40 p.m. and we still have a bit of a ways to go. I'd say about maybe a third of the way there. I will say one thing that's kind of interesting is that this trail's been slightly busier than I expected. Now, granted, we are in a pretty rural and remote area. I mean, there's just not a lot of people living in this part of Maine. It has a very low population, but I've had so many ATVs fly past me on this trail. I would say 5 or 6 ATVs already. This is probably the most quiet period I've had so far. The last ATV went by me like 4 minutes ago, but there were quite a few people flying down this trail on ATVs. I honestly thought I'd be the only person down here, but definitely a lot more busy than I expected. Granted, it is a nice Saturday afternoon, but anyways, making my way down there. One thing I did want to mention that's also kind of interesting. Most of this trek is going to be here in the town of Sullivan, Maine. So we're currently in the town of Sullivan, Maine. A majority of this trail is going to be in Sullivan, but the randomly generated coordinates themselves are in East Hancock, which, as I mentioned previously in the video, is an unorganized territory, meaning it's not technically a administered town. It's just unorganized territory. Barely anyone lives there. So the coordinates that we're going to are basically right across the border in East Hancock, but a majority of the time is going to be spent here in Sullivan. I just thought that was kind of interesting. But anyways, I'm going to continue onwards. We still have a bit of a ways to go and kind of see how it goes. But I will say so far, not a bad hike. It's very flat. The terrain is actually quite smooth for what it is. It's really just ducking the occasional ATV. And so I continued onward, moving east towards the randomly generated coordinates, which were drawing closer and closer with every step. The trail was long, flat, and straightforward, and although I was making good progress, my hike felt like it was dragging at times since I could see so far ahead of me. I also found myself watching the power lines to my right, waiting for the moment they'd veer left, signifying my next trek. Most shocking of all was that I actually had cell phone service and internet connection out here. I truly thought that I would have nothing at all, considering how rural this area is. Alright guys, I think we're officially approaching the power line corridor section of this trek. You can kind of see that because you can see that these power lines over here, which have been following the trail this entire time, are now jutting this way into the forest. And I think this is the corridor itself. I have no idea what to expect. I'm not sure how thick and forested this is going to be. Hopefully it's not too bad because we have to start walking down this. And here it is. This right here is the power line corridor, which we actually have to walk up. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. All right, well, we got to do it. So our randomly generated coordinate is basically right up there. So yeah, we're going to start walking up this power line corridor the best we can. It doesn't look like it's too densely or thickly wooded. I mean, I think we should be fine. If I'm being honest, what my top concern was wildlife. Again, we are very remote right now. Not a lot of human activity out here. I was low-key a little nervous about running across wildlife on this trip, and I'm talking like bears and stuff like that. Luckily, I haven't seen any yet, but I don't know. Now that we're venturing into the woods, we might. We'll see. Anyways, join me as we start heading up this corridor. We're very close. I began trudging through the thick brush along the power line corridor, although I'll admit it wasn't as bad as I expected. For the most part, I was able to easily push right through the vegetation, even coming across some old worn trails. I proceeded to hike uphill as I made my way up the corridor, surprised by how steep it was at points. All the while, the tall power line poles towered above me, beckoning me to come closer as I neared the final destination. Just so you can get an idea of how far I've gone along this power line corridor so far, we're basically right in the middle between where I started and the randomly generated coordinates. The coordinates are just right up there. I would say probably another 10 to 12 minutes from where I'm standing right now. And then back here is what we've done. Now this looks really far away, but keep in mind a lot of that was uphill. This was pretty much an entirely uphill hike. Actually wasn't too bad, but we started all the way at that dirt road over there, hiked up here. We have a little bit more of a ways to go right up there, slightly uphill, but nothing too bad. And then we got to dip into the woods over there a speck, although we won't be too far into the woods. And then we'll reach the coordinate. And I'm excited. I mean, this was definitely a long trek, the longest of the 3 I've done, but actually not too difficult, I would say. It's been relatively breezy, but anyways, let's continue onward. Another few minutes went by as I made my way across the final section of the hilly power line corridor, getting closer and closer to our coordinates. By now, it was safe to say that I was within 15 minutes of our pinned location, and I could feel the excitement brewing within me. We're almost there. As I waded through the thick brush, I began to recall all that had occurred today, and what had brought me here to this very moment. Well guys, I got good news. Guess what we've just approached? Literally directly behind me, and I mean like right behind me, right in there, right through those woods, are our randomly generated coordinates. Right there, probably like a 3-minute walk from where I'm standing right now in those woods. We made it. Absolutely insane. What a trek. So we're still here on the power line corridor. It's definitely starting to get, slightly darker. So yeah, let's do it. I mean, without further ado, let's head to these coordinates. I'm gonna start making my way through this brush, through the thick foliage, make it over to these coordinates. Let's do it. Hopefully we don't run into any wildlife. That's my top concern. It ended up just being a very quick 3-minute dip into the woods, although the foliage was quite thick and dense, and I had to push my way through resistant brush as I waded over to the coordinates. Still, it was a relatively easy hike, and within no time I had reached the end of the journey. Hey guys, we did it! We officially did it. Right now, as I speak, from where I'm currently standing, we have reached the randomly generated coordinates, which were randomly generated for us by a computer program that sent us all the way here, 4 hours and 20 minutes away from my house in Massachusetts to this very point here in East Hancock, Maine. Crazy to see. We're literally right in the middle of a dense, thick, wooded area, right off a power line corridor, deep into a dirt trail. I mean, we are quite literally in the middle of nowhere right now. That's where the computer program brought me, and it's absolutely crazy to think, because I've said this in my, previous 2 installments of this series, but were it not for that computer program, I'd never be standing here. I would never have a reason to come to this point. The only reason I'm here today is because of those randomly generated coordinates. And it's just so interesting to think about. Really gives you a perspective on how vast New England truly is. There is so much unexplored territory around here that you or I will never get to. And this would have been one of them, if not by chance. And here we are. It's just crazy to think about. So yeah, we've officially made it to the randomly generated point here in East Hancock, Maine. What a journey. Took a long drive from Massachusetts up here to Maine. Then I had to hike down the dirt trail, Sunrise Trail. Then I had to hike up the power line corridor. And then I had to bushwhack into these little forested areas, which granted wasn't too bad. This was actually the easiest part. But wow, what a journey. We made it. Woo! And I'm coming to you live from the middle of the wilderness here in Maine. I can't believe I'm finally here. I generated the coordinates yesterday on a computer program, and I made it over here today. Brought me all the way from Massachusetts to East Hancock, Maine, right here in the middle of the woods. And I truly am here in the middle of the woods. I mean, if a deer or a bear or a moose really wanted to, it could just walk up to me right now. I mean, I'm quite literally unprotected here in the middle of the Maine wilderness. It's just crazy to think about, but what a journey. That was a lot of fun. A lot of driving, of course. But we saw a lot of cool sights along the way, from Portland to Augusta to, of course, the Penobscot Narrows. Then we did a bit of hiking on the trail, a little bit of hiking on the power line corridor, and then a little bit of bushwhacking to top it all off. Basically, every installment of the series has included bushwhacking to some extent. This was by far the easiest, I will say. But this was also by far the most fun. I can't deny it. This was probably my favorite installment thus far. And I do think this is going to be my final installment for quite some time. I might do another one of these in the near future. Maybe if you guys would love to see a 4th episode of this random coordinates series, I would love to do it someday, but I probably will take a bit of a break for the time being. But I do think this is a solid episode to end off on here in East Hancock, Maine. I had a great time as always, and I hope you guys did as well. Again, if you would like to see more sometime in the future, let me know. I'll probably do it once winter's over, which of course means the next year. Speaking of which, I'm sure throughout the episode you saw, but it is mid-September as I film this, and the beautiful colors of fall are finally coming in. The entire time I was up here in Maine, I was just surrounded by gorgeous, vibrant colors. I love it. But anyways, guys, that's been about it. I'm J Mass. If you love exploring New England, traveling New England, checking out all the sights it has to see, I'm always doing that on this channel, so feel free to subscribe to the channel. Of course, I do want to give a major shout out to all my channel members. You guys are awesome, and I'd love it if you too, viewer of this video, would consider becoming a channel member as well. You'd be supporting me and the channel directly, and I truly appreciate it. Or you could follow me on Instagram at JMassOfficial. That's at JMassOfficial. But I've been J Mass as always. This was the 3rd episode of exploring random coordinates here in New England. A lot of fun as always. Again, not sure when the next one will be, but when or if it happens, I'll see you until then. But yeah, crazy. The 1st episode we did Vermont, the 2nd episode we did Rhode Island, and the 3rd episode we did Maine. Of course, the largest state in New England. Absolutely phenomenal. All right, I'm gonna start heading back. I have quite the trip back home, and I gotta do it all before midnight, basically. So catch you guys later. See ya.